We're just hours away from the Arizona Cardinals having to cut even more players to get to the 53-man roster to start the 2021 season. Already some surprise cuts. We'll tell you who they let go of and who's still here that we're shocked by. It's Bo, it's Alex, it's Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Fired up, rise up, Red Sea. In the preseason, you can look at it in your rear view mirror. The Arizona Cardinals actually just 2 games. They split on their preseason 1-1. We'll kind of give a fond farewell. I actually, as Brack, Alex Clancy join you here, Locked On Cardinals, a little bit later than usual. I want to bid a fond farewell to the preseason. I actually enjoyed seeing the exhibition slate this summer. It was nice to see guys compete for roster spots, and the Arizona Cardinals already a couple surprise cuts, Alex.
Yeah. I think the standout of the preseason was Marco Wilson. You say that? Zaven Collins played like an NFL player. Isaiah Simmons didn't look lost, as we talked about. Yeah, the cuts are interesting. It's still very fluid. That's why we're going to kind of wait until everything is done to really give our analysis on it. And yeah, preseason, it's fun because there's still so much uncertainty of what this team's going to look like. Are they going to perform well? Are they going to be a 6-win team like one prognosticator dropped out, 6-11 for the Cardinals? Like, we have no idea. And that's the intrigue of this team. There's going to be young guys. They're going to have to be thrown into roles that maybe they're not ready for, see if they can be up to the task. And some old dudes that we need to see if they can still huck it like they used to be able to with J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones. So super exciting to see what happens. And yeah, the preseason was a nice little taste.
This episode of Locked On Cardinals brought to you by the Locked On NFL podcast, previewing every team, every division with the help of Odyssey's lineup of NFL experts through September 8th. Starting today, there are preview episodes on the feed that you can listen to right now. Follow the Locked On NFL podcast today on your Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. Later this afternoon, full transparency, we're doing our preview with the rest of the NFC West hosts. Cannot wait to talk to guys like Brian Peacock, Eric Crocker over there of Locked On 49ers. You've got Sosa Cremenges of Locked On Rams. And then, of course, you've got our guys from the Locked On Seahawks crew, Corbin Smith and Rob Ring. And, just to hear the perspective from those guys, because we've been crushing all 3 of those teams all offseason long. We feel like the Arizona Cardinals had a strong offseason, and no one dare come in with any noise about these other NFC West teams. By far, the most talented and stacked division in football.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun. We're actually, full disclosure, we're recording that in about 2.5 hours. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. Like, how are we going to get 9 dudes to speak 18 minutes total with how passionate, like, Cremenges is great, Peacock's great. I haven't talked to Crocker at all yet. We haven't done any crossovers. And Corbin Smith is, it's going to be really fun. So, I don't know. Hopefully there'll be no bows thrown over podcasts, but yeah, it'll be a great time.
It's going to be us pretty much throwing gasoline on a fire with all of our hot takes about how we don't believe in Kyle Shanahan and how he has one winning season and how Matthew Stafford, it's a myth that he can be a solid quarterback for a good team. It's never really happened in his entire NFL career. We'll just see where that goes. We're just going to have a lot of, you mentioned there's going to be 9 of them and there's going to be 7 angry guys and then us 2 just being idiots throwing out hot take after hot take. It's going to be fun. So look for that. Of course, the Locked On NFL podcast. You can find it on the feed and just subscribe wherever you find podcasts. If you haven't subscribed on Odyssey, already a couple cuts made. We'll get into those before the end of the getting into it. We saw 2 games in the and you mentioned Zaven Collins looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to make an impact on the NFL level. Marco Wilson showed like he belonged. What were some other positives for this Arizona Cardinals preseason?
Well, my mission statement running for Cardinals office is, if the offense isn't the strength of this team, why is Cliff Kingsbury here? We saw some nice things from Rondale Moore, which is he's going to be a fantasy darling. People are doing their drafts. Kay Adams, we're going to get her on. Like, I'm in the works of getting her on the damn show. I want to go through Good Morning Football. She had a piece out, a little blip on Twitter about Rondale Moore, about how she's so high on him, and she's a big fantasy person in the space. She does a really good job. So Rondale, like them, it not looking like they were forcing him the ball. It looked like he was open, on the correct play call, and they got him the ball, and we saw what he's able to do. The dude's got some serious giddy up. So I'm really excited about him. And Marco Wilson, you being the president of his fan club, like he played very, very well. Aside from giving up a long fourth down completion early on, he played really well, and he wowed some folks for sure.
Yeah, and I think that the PFF numbers even back that up. Byron Murphy, very encouraging. But the thing about Rondale Moore was he commanded the ball, but he commanded it organically. They didn't spoon feed him the football. It just, he was, in the right place. He was open. They dialed up a run play they thought was going to be good. I mean, I think he had 3 runs in 2 games. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they deploy the second round pick out of Purdue. Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons, I think people were excited about, and rightfully so. The new wave of NFL linebacker, that's going to be what we're going to tab it. I mean, that's not the nickname, but that's what Steve Keim's going for by going back-to-back first rounds with those animals, those tool sheds. And then, it's you got the guys that you're already excited about. And then on the offensive side of the football, I mean, outside of Rondale Moore, Benjamin was encouraging. That a guy that didn't see any time in his rookie season, in his first professional game, really, he scores a touchdown and he shows that he can compete, and looks like, unless something shocking happens, he's going to make this roster.
Yeah, and that's interesting because he was probably the biggest surprise, you would think, of what happened during the preseason. Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, the first preseason game, he ran roughshod over Dallas's, that could have been their 4th-string or their 1st-string defense. It doesn't really matter when it comes to Dallas, but it was good to actually see him, run, score a touchdown. And with cuts tomorrow, and with J.K. Dobbins already going down, reminding everybody that football is such a fickle game, and you are at the mercy of injuries more than anything else, more than bad play, anything else. Injuries can derail a total season. Having a third back is paramount for somebody you can trust getting 5 or 7 targets a game at times. Yeah. And I feel like Eno Benjamin has earned that above anybody else, above Jonathan Ward and others, to be getting those touches. So hopefully, I would assume that he's going to make the roster.
Yeah. We will tell you who has been released already. There's 10 official cuts. There's some reports out there. We'll get into it. Of course, we'll have our official podcast tomorrow breaking down what the 53-man roster looks like, and hopefully some news of some guys that were released from other organizations make their way onto the Arizona Cardinals. Tight end. We'll see what happens as far as that position.
You fake off.
But there were 2 other positives that I want to get into on the other side, plus the not so positive. The things that there's still question marks, that are going to be question marks between now and Nashville for the season opener against the Tennessee Titans. We'll tell you what that is. It's coming up. It's Locked On Cardinals. It's Bo and Alex. Make sure you mash that like button. Make sure you subscribe, of course, to the YouTube channel. Up and over 600 subscribers a while ago. We appreciate everybody who tunes in. We actually, behind the curtain here, we'll tell you something really cool about the podcast that happened today that's on the other side as well. But I got to tell you about DirecTV. Does this sound familiar? Actually, not DirecTV. We're going to tell you about DirecTV later. North One. It's better banking for small business owners. Serving small business owners is all they do. North One allows you to manage your money from anywhere, whether you're at home or you're on the go. Everything you need to manage your business finances right there at your fingertips. Never step foot in a bank branch again. In addition to the features you'd expect, like mobile check deposit, cash withdrawals, the ability to send and receive ACH and wire payments, North One is the FDIC insured account that can save you both time and money. North One integrates with the accounting software you already use, saving you hours of manual bookkeeping. And with North One's envelope feature, you can automatically budget and save for things like payroll, taxes, and more. With North One, you'll never pay at NSF fees again, saving you hundreds of dollars per month. To get started, visit apply.northone.com/locked. That's apply.northone.com/locked. North One, business banking made for America.
And also, it's time like it's time. And BetOnline's got you covered for all of the NFL action throughout the whole season. BetOnline's your number one spot for all the pro and college football action for the entirety of the season. We had college football this past weekend. It's insane. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including the biggest online $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at betonline.ag. So go to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today. receive your 100% welcome bonus. You deposit $100, they give you 100 on their tab using promo code Locked On. And also, be sure to take advantage of the opening day super promo. So you make a bet on opening night Thursday with the Bucs and Cowboys, and if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using promo code NFL100. Bet online, your online sportsbook experts.
So you're listening to the Locked On Podcast Network Podcast of the Week. And
finally,
it was a long time in the making, and we couldn't have done it, of course, without the listeners. You guys are the reason we fire up the mics each and every day, and now the cameras, and the reason that we try to provide the best daily content possible. And it's just a testament to the listeners out there driving us to put forth a little bit of, at least on my side. I don't know, Alex. I think everybody would be shocked here if this is his maximum effort. That'd just be sad. But fake laugh and a fake cough in just a matter of minutes.
Back almost, yeah.
But a big thank you to everybody for making this possible. Thank you to our colleagues over the Locked On Network, and of course the Podfather, the Godfather, David Locke, Ross Jackson, our channel coordinator, for showing appreciation to us. We really do. We're grateful for everything and getting to do this on a daily basis. All right, a couple more positives, and then we're going to get
like an Oscar acceptance speech.
I know. They started playing the music.
Already.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Here we go. The Arizona Cardinals, I thought it was encouraging, was the play from the backup quarterbacks. So far, no Streveler release. He's still on the roster. Still a long way to go for the guy. But Colt McCoy, a move that I wasn't necessarily as high on as Alex was. He did show what could happen when you do have a guy with the experience that Colt McCoy has, and he comes in, he can really just have a calming influence on that quarterback room and on the entire offense.
I mean, 100%. Like there's no going back to injuries with J.K. Dobbins, like there's a safety net now. Just in case, or who knows if it gets weird and you start to see quarterbacks sit a game with a 17-week season to prep for playoffs. Yeah. We have no idea what an extra game is going to do. We have no concept. But if Kyler Murray does get injured, you don't have to look at Chris Streveler as the guy. You don't have to remind him to put his shirt on and take the cowboy hat off and come to the game sober like he was doing in the CFL. Like you don't have to worry about that. Colt McCoy, as you mentioned, is a coming presence. He's going to potentially be the link between Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray and kind of fusing it all together with his added quarterback acumen. And again, that's why somebody ripped me on Twitter when I said this. Like, if they were to bring in Andy Dalton to be a backup quarterback, it would kind of be the same effect. It's like he's a calming presence, a stable, low ceiling, high floor backup quarterback. And we saw it. He immediately paid dividends in the preseason. You saw right away what he was going to be able to do.
You imagine a world where you have Andy Dalton, you have Justin Fields, and you decide to start Andy Dalton in place of Justin Fields. I don't understand that at all, but we're Locked On Cardinals. We'll leave that up to Lauren Cox. We'll leave that up to the other prognosticators on the network that know more than us about that situation. But that's about it. I don't think we missed anything as far as the rest of the roster is concerned. I mean, there were guys that flashed here and there. You had the Ross Travis touchdown, and other than that, I mean, 2 games, not a whole lot to go off of. Maybe the perfect amount of preseason football right there. They don't. There was some fun third games, like the Jets and Eagles finale was electric. That was the Hail Mary. Hail Mary. I call every Hail Mary now a Hail Mary. It's just it's over for me. But and then they plunge it in for 2 to tie it, and it's a 31-31 preseason final. But it was fun to see guys just battle out for roster spots. You saw some guys get out there, some key starters around the league, and make a big final push at the end of the preseason going into the regular season. As far as the bad for the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think you can get away from looking at the first team offense. You hear you hear Louis Riddick in the NFL, or I'm sorry, the Monday Night Football crew say that AJ Green looks like 2015 AJ Green, and the little sample size, extremely small sample size, it pretty much laid a goose egg. Him and Kyler Murray, we didn't see it, so we don't know if it's true or not.
We don't know. There's always uncertainty going into a regular season for specific things. Again, we have no idea what this team is going to look like. if it's going to work or not. Is Kyler going to take that leap? Obviously, if he does, it's going to be an easier conversation down the road. But I've been pounding the table for AJ Green, 800 yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns, just organically in the offense, because he is a guy, regardless of age, that can run a perfect route, catch a ball that's contested, and score a touchdown. I mean, that's what he's done his whole career. So I'd much rather have him than Larry Fitzgerald, even though, there's some pushback for that. With the wrinkle of Rondale Moore, it'll help keep defenses honest on the outside with AJ and DeAndre Hopkins. But yeah, sure. I mean, AJ Green ran one route that I remember, and Kyler Murray zipped it past him before he even turned, which was on Kyler's, that was right after the Rondale Moore dump down for 3 yards, like we'd seen with Cliff Kingsbury forever. So yeah, sure. There's not so much you can take from the preseason, except for the fact that the rookies that they need to perform didn't look like they were college football players playing in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it on the defensive side. We saw Zaven Collins. We saw Marco Wilson. We even saw flashes from Tay Gowan.
Yeah.
And you saw Isaiah Simmons take a step in the right direction. You can maybe even argue that Josh Jones, making his case to be, a starting right tackle, is a position that's still they're still trying to figure out as far as the three-headed monster between Brian Winter and Justin Murray and Josh Jones. But, outside of that, I mean, the questions swirling around this offense remain. And it was the biggest question. And they bring in AJ Green and they bring in James Conner, and we don't have any answers right now. You're just going to have to trust that they're going to figure it out. And that might be very naive leading up in the next week and a half, leading up to Sunday in Nashville and a 10 a.m. kickoff, and going up against King Henry and Ryan Tannehill and that play action pass and Julio Jones and AJ Brown. And then that defensive side of the football, we'll see. They're really going to have to be focused and practiced in the way that they talked, especially your quarterback, about preseason action. You better hope that he's locked in.
Yeah, I mean, because and we'll talk about this ad nauseum next week, but when you bring up Tennessee, we're going to find out, litmus test wise, it's a perfect setup. Their defense isn't great, and their offense is going to be really good in the places where you need it. It's top heavy where it's supposed to be. So if the Cardinals offense can't put up points, and if the Cardinals defense can't stop the run or stop the two guys on the outside, it's going to be, a little foreshadowing into all the wide receiver ones and all the RB ones the Cardinals are going to play this year on defense. And if the offense, this defense isn't great, it really isn't. They added Bud Dupree, right? That was their big offseason ad, and they
off of it ACL.
Yeah, right. So their pass rush was terrible. Ask all fantasy football owners of Tennessee last year. So this is a perfect time to just unleash this offense, and hopefully they'll be able to.
It's Bo Brack, Alex Clancy. Make sure to follow along on Twitter at Clancy's Corner, at BOBRACK, and of course at Locked On AZ Cards. Follow along on Facebook as well. Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Coming up on the other side, we've got the cuts for you. I believe we're up to about 15. We've got 10 official, and then we've got a couple of names that have been reported. We'll tell you all those names, and we'll lead you to tomorrow. And when we'll have a full 53-man roster, I mean, a lot can change in a week and a half. They can still make moves, but what the initial 53-man roster looks like, we'll have that for you tomorrow here on Locked On Cardinals. First, let us finally tell you about DirecTV. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, let me tell you about a simpler way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV, your on-demand favorites together like never before, and you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And it's the best. Here's the best part. No annual contracts. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion. When your parents come over, you don't have to say, hey, this remote does this, and then that remote will work that. It's got your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Built Bar also, dude, the thing we saw, so they're the best tasting protein bar. If you've listened to us or listened to anybody on Locked On or purchased them yourself, Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the planet. I have one left. I have one orange left. I'm trying to determine when to ingest it. I haven't really thought about it yet. Built Bar's got 9 delicious flavors that are around all the time. They've got limited time flavors that come around. The ones that are around all the time: coconut coconut almond, cherry raspberry, mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, double chocolate, and salted caramel. Bo's favorite salted caramel. Mine's orange, which is only around from time to time. There is a new version of Built Bar that will be coming out soon. I don't know if we can even talk about it yet, but they dropped the picture of it in our DMs on Twitter. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
For Built Bar. There's going to be a tie between Built Bar and Phoenix that will be announced very soon. Super exciting. Like, seriously, the way they tell us to say it, and I forget to say it is the healthiest candy bar you'll ever have, because it does taste like candy bars. And Bo talks about this a lot. Like, they're doing blind taste tests from the coconut almond one and almond joy, and coconut almond Built Bar is beating a candy bar. So, I mean, and this is just the beginning for Built Bar. It's going to get huge. So go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your first order. Built.com or builtbar.com. I believe both work. Use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your first order.
All right, wrapping up a Monday edition of Locked On Cardinals. We appreciate everybody's patience a little bit later in the day. That's because I was on daddy duty all morning. Threw a whole wrench in our recording schedule. This is pretty much.
Kid is really selfish.
He is. He is. You know, it's
really
a good thing. He's got great hair and it's cute. You know, it's a very good thing. So we've got 10 official cuts, and then we've got at least 4, actually now 5 reported cuts for the Arizona Cardinals. Here are your official ones: offensive lineman Shaq Calhoun, running back Tavian Feaster, Keyshawn Johnson, former 6th-round pick out of Fresno State, no longer a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Michael Manette, your 7th-round pick out of Penn State, the offensive lineman. Cam Murray, one of your undrafted free agents, defensive lineman from Oklahoma State. Picasso Nelson, this cornerback's gone. The wide receiver, A.J. Richardson, gone. Former 6th-round pick out of Cal, your Pac-12. Pat Tillman, defensive player of the year. Evan Weaver, who was on the show at one point, gone. Jace Whitaker, gone. That's a report from Josh Weinfuss. Ryan Winslow, the punter, officially gone. Bryson Young, the linebacker, gone. Other reports for you: Chris Banjo, he's no longer on the roster. Neither is Josh Morrow. For like the 8th time he's been released by this organization. Could make his way back on the roster. Who knows? That was via ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. And then most recently, 7th-round pick, was it James Wiggins out of Cincinnati, the safety, not making this team. But the 2 surprises, Alex, I mean, it's Keyshawn Johnson and it's Chris Banjo, who played a lot of snaps for this organization.
Well, they brought in 265 safeties this offseason. I mean, there was an abhorrent amount. I think they had 7 at one time. That, unfortunately for Chris, I'm sure he'll land somewhere else. It's nice you're not going to have to rely on Chris Banjo if somebody gets injured, because we saw what happened last year when Jalen Thompson was out for an extended period of time. Pardon me. When Budda Baker missed the Carolina game, the Cardinals couldn't hold on to that one. And Keyshawn Johnson, I'm really surprised. Yeah. And obviously, the name that we didn't mention yet, Andy Isabella, who obviously has his spot, we think. And still, I mean, so 24 hours or 23 hours from when we're recording this, we'll know 1:00 tomorrow what the final cuts are. Keyshawn Johnson was a surprise. Maybe it was a surprise that he was still on the roster, that the Cardinals needed him. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're looking at it in a weird way. I don't know, but the fact that Andy Isabella isn't cut yet, it's mind-boggling if we're going to talk Blades of Glory.
I'm gonna say something weird. Let's get weird. I dare Steve Keim to cut Andy Isabella.
Really?
I dare you. I mean, if he does, that entire draft class of wide receivers is gone. Hakeem Butler, gone. Keyshawn Johnson, gone. Andy Isabella's the lone survivor there. I don't know how. Probably, just the least productive, right, as far as the 2 guys that played. Hakeem Butler didn't. He was injured his rookie season. But man, I mean, I don't think he will. I think he'll keep him just for that lone purpose. Like he can't take the L on that. He can't close the door on that draft class and just say, hey, yeah, it wasn't my best work. We're going to move forward. It is kind of interesting. Like I got to imagine he's going to be one of the next few ones. Former Texas Tech player Antoine Wesley, unless they feel like he adds a different dynamic to the receivers, a little bit taller, a little bit more athletic. Greg Dortch still on the roster. We'll see what they do because you've got DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, Andy Isabella. I mean, you carry 6 or 7 wide receivers. Not everybody's going to make it.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the whole thing about the tight end position is they're going to have more wide receivers on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to. And they do not have a tight end that is trustworthy on the roster to run routes and catch passes. I mean, they just don't. Completely punted on it. Unless Steve Keim does something wild, before the season starts. I just don't see it happening.
And as we record the show, I mean, this is if this was Hard Knocks, if HBO got it right, if this is Hard Knocks, they're following. They do not leave Chris Streveler's side. The cameras do not for the rest of the day until things are solidified as far as this 53-man roster. Like that's the drama, right? I mean,
yeah.
Do they carry a third quarterback?
No, I think they absolutely need to, because he's a playmaker. He's not just Brett Hundley. Like, he's a guy you can use in myriad different ways if need be. And you need as much help for this offense as possible. He runs over linebackers. Keep him on the roster. Like, and if you're having trouble with the rushing attack, you could just use him. Just, a direct snap. Just have him be in shotgun. Have Kyler Murray off the field. Everybody knows it's going to be a run. Just stop him. Like, you can use him in that way. I would keep him for sure.
And people point out, like, Kyler might have taken exception to that. But look, there are a couple things throughout his career where the organization needs to step in and say, hey, look, we're going to call the shots here. You just focus on doing what
we're the business people.
Yeah. And if it calls for it that we need to put a guy in harm's way and it's going to be our third string quarterback, our gadget quarterback, then we're going to do that. If he's going to bowl over, take on a defensive lineman, we want him, not you. That's not an indictment on you. We're sure you can make a play, but this is what we need. We need to move the chains, bring in the Streveler package. Let's do it. So,
I mean, he's too important to this organization. And not saying Streveler has a different skill set. And that's it. He is a better, straightforward, into the muck runner than Kyler is.
Yeah.
He's just bigger. He's 2 times the size of him.
He is. It's gonna be interesting. Make sure you're following along on Twitter for all the latest info on the Arizona Cardinals at Locked On AZ Cards, at Clancy's Corner, and at BOBRACK. A lot of exciting things coming your way, and it's nearly the real thing. We're almost there. Regular season is nearly upon us. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you on Tuesday right here on Locked On Cardinals. Let's tell you now that betting on football doesn't have to be a guessing game. Listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q. Handicapping expert Lee Sterling. He's amazing. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Follow the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get podcasts. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.